do you want to be remembered when we when you're no longer here on planet Earth? Okay? What legacy do you want to leave behind? Maybe not to humankind, because that would be too big, for us. How about to our families? Maybe to our children, which is really the most important of all, isn't it? Welcome, my fascinating Renaissance friends, to my season of life, 60 years and beyond. And this is your fellow sojourner, Miss Malu Cervantes, navigating the autumn of life. And this is episode 179, the last episode for the month of March, year 2025. Um, and we'll continue and we'll end, right, this March, mm, reflecting on great existential questions that humanity has asked for centuries. Existential questions like why do I exist? Okay. Why are we suffering? Why is there suffering on earth? Who am I really? Aside from the titles that I have achieved all these years, um, what is love really? You know, like um, like what is death? How come we have to die? Can't we live forever? Things like that. We've done this in the past, episodes, and we're down to our last. Now we are not, as the past episodes have shown us, we're not reflecting on this as philosophers up there in the ivory tower, looking down at hapless mortals like us, not knowing the answers. We will do that. We have done and will continue to do, okay, this reflection as women who have lived through these years until we reach the autumn of life. Okay, women who have lived, okay, who have loved and lost, who have suffered pains, but who have endured, who have triumphed over tough circumstances and have grown wiser as a result. And also, we have not, and we will not, you know, uh, turn these questions into problems which needed to be solved, nor questions which needed, pat answers, categorical answers. That's not really very possible. Okay? So, for the last time in this series, why don't you pour yourself a cup of hot tea, all right? And settle in the moment as we reflect on these questions. Okay? So, I told you that one of the exercises I do in one of my in my sessions on professional and personal excellence is a exercise I call coat of arms. All people during the medieval times they have a coat of arms and they show you what they stand for, etc. And composing of 6 questions. Yeah, I did that last episode. Okay, you may want to review that if you wish in the directory below. All right, and the last question and the fifth question, the fourth and the fifth questions are these: how do you want to be remembered? Okay, like you're no longer here, and when your children talk about it, what do they remember about their mom, their dad, really? And the next question is, what legacy do you want to leave behind? Like, is it a legacy of integrity, living lives of integrity, or is it a name ruined by corruption, or a name that is synonymous with progress and things like that? Okay. In this last episode in this series, we'll talk about legacy. What is it, really? Okay? So we will hear from three people I, before I before I add my own. After all, this is the culmination of the series, right? Well, the first one is a German-born American philosopher named Hannah Arendt. Okay, Hannah Arendt. And she said this, which is really very true. All human beings long for their lives to matter, which means legacy building and legacy living is innate in our human existence. Being human really entails or includes the desire, that our lives matter, that we're able to contribute to goodness. I agree. I agree. Now, Carl Jung, which is really, I mean, who is, again, my favorite, psychologists say that everybody lives traces in the collective reality, collective psyche. So, which means that everyone touches everyone's lives, whether we're conscious of it or not. The little thing we do will always touch lives, okay, for the good or for the bad. So so it makes it very critical that what we leave behind is something that will be for the good of everyone, even if it's the good for the good of one person or one group of people, our families and our children. Okay? And then Viktor Frankl again, this really wonderful man who survived the Holocaust, who tells us that our choices matter. For him, legacy is meaning that is derived from contributions. Okay, so that is what really matters. Bottom line, really, legacy is not what we have accumulated, but it's how we have enriched people's lives. What are the things we did? Okay, we want to be remembered not for the things that we have done to hurt them. We want to be remembered for the things that we have given them. When I say given them, it's really more spiritual, it's really more psychic. It's not, well, of course, we could leave an inheritance, millions of dollars or pesos in inheritance. But that's important, yes. But more than that is how we have touched lives, isn't it? How we have inspired them to really be better than who they are, to be better than where they have come from. Okay, how we have influenced them by our presence. Okay, how we have helped them become better individuals, and how we have impacted their lives. Okay, by what we have done for them, which is really again, going back to episode 3, we have to really craft this before we can even go through, okay, the autumn of our life. And that is, what is our ikigai? What is our reason for being? The French call is raison d'etre. What is our reason for being? Ikigai in Japanese means why do we still wake up in the morning? What do we want to be doing the rest of our lives? That's ikigai. So, full circle, if we want to leave a legacy, and what is that legacy? We have to start with the meaning of life. Why are we still waking up? Why do we wake up in the morning? All right? So, this month, reflecting on 8 existential questions through the ages. We did not talk about certainty, like this is it, this is the answer. What we did was really talk from honesty. We're struggling with this, isn't it? We did not seek certainty, but we definitely talked about honesty. Okay, and perhaps that is the greatest gift of this age, the greatest gift of this season of our life. That is, it's not about answering the questions. It is about what? It is about um, it's about living those questions. It's not the need for answers to those questions, but it's really living those questions even in our own lives. I am reminded of that statement from the poem of Rainer Wilk. Remember him? We talked about him. One phrase, just love the questions. We don't have to break our brains trying to give answers. Just love those questions and let it guide you living the best years of our life. Okay, by next 2 months, that's April and May, I know this is a little heavy on the heart and heavy on the mind. In fact, that's what one of my friends would say, existential questions, Malu. Are you kidding me? You know, you might lose your audience. I said, we're not going to take it as an academic subject, okay? But it's still going to be heavy. Me and my husband will be traveling to America and in the Bahamas for a cruise with our children. Okay? I will be using the time not to give you a travel blog, but to give you a documentary of where we've gone, see places, etc. No, 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 no. I will not be using that. But I will be using those times to tell you how to live la dolce vita. Remember? The good life. Because the autumn of our life, is still, can still be the greatest, times of life. La dolce vita. How do we do that? It will be again philosophical. It will be again beautiful with the sceneries, etc. But it's not going to be a document of our travels, where we've gone, where we went, what did we eat, etc. No. It will be very uniquely Malu. Okay. So until then, my faithful, loyal, you know, fascinating Renaissance friends, until we meet in April and May with this La Dolce Vita, kind of life, right? Continue to live wisely, love very deeply, and live fully in this beautiful season of your own life. Okay, this is Miss Malu Cervantes, your coach and mentor and sojourner, bidding goodbye.